I've said in other videos that, especially my recent one on Voyagers, that I just have this habit of picking shows that don't last. Well, I want to say that there's a little bit of truth to that. There's also a lot of not truth to it. There are some that I have watched that, 7, 8 seasons. There's another one that's wrapping up 14. Greetings, Dave here, DCPFX. Now, what I was talking about is I've seen 7 seasons of MacGyver. I've seen 8 seasons of Magnum. Love those shows when they were on. They were fantastic. Big MacGyver fan. I loved the MacGyver thing, so it makes perfect sense. The one I'm talking about was just announced this week that they are wrapping it up after 14 seasons. NCIS LA. NCIS was an interesting show. It basically, back in the 2000s, there was a show called JAG, Judge Advocate General. It was very cool. It was like a legal procedural, sort of, based in the Navy. From there spun out NCIS, which had Mark Harmon and David McCallum. I didn't watch a lot of it, but I watched some of it. Out of that spun NCIS LA. Now, for me, I'm a Chris O'Donnell fan. I've liked him for a while. I thought he was a pretty cool actor. He was in Scent of a Woman. He did a few other things. He did School Ties, but he, got really well known for doing the Batman movies. He did the last 2. He did Forever, and he did Batman and Robin. So he played Robin in that. He played Dick Grayson, and me, big Dick Grayson fan. So it would make sense I gravitate towards him. And he's a good actor as well. Well, when this came out of an episode or 2 episodes of NCIS where they introduced them, and then they spun out NCIS LA. It's wrapping up its 14th season. And it's funny because you watch it all the time. I look at this cover and LL Cool J and Chris don't look like that anymore. They're 14 years older, as am I. And I'm looking at this because my oldest is 23. My youngest is 19. Started watching this when my youngest was, 5. And there you go. Now, the reason I mention this is because I talk about TV and movies on Wednesdays. But the last year or so, we've been watching, my wife and I watch this every week. And that's a whole another thing. I just wish once that there was a network that said, you know what? Screw sports. The number of times that this, which tapes on Sunday, I miss it, part of it, I miss part of it, I miss part of it because the football game ran long and the golf went long. How about a station for those of us who don't give a rat's ass about sports? Wouldn't that be awesome? Now, at this point, there is on demand. So, if I get it didn't start till 10 minutes in, erase, go to watch on demand, find it. Now I can't fast forward, but it is what it is. Anyway, for the last 2 years, my wife and I have been watching it and go, all right, is that it? Oh, it's coming back next year. And then again last year. I wonder if that's it. The lead character, G. Callan, Chris O'Donnell, got engaged to his longtime girlfriend. And now the way they portrayed him in the show is he's had commitment issues his whole life because he was fostered out. And for years, he was just called G. Callan. And there's a funny thing in the first episode where he's talking to Linda Hunt, who has disappeared from the show as well. Hopefully they bring her back to wrap it up. He said, everyone just calls me G. And she says, I don't know what it stands for. And he says, they never told me. He was in foster because his parents had disappeared. A whole long story. It comes out later. All he had was a duffel bag, which was Callan G. So everyone's called him G. Turns out later on, his family was Russian. His name is Grisha. But anyway, so we're watching this, and we've got to the point where surely it's done. And the last couple of years, they brought in new characters to help, flesh out the team. But for a long time, it was LL Cool J, Chris O'Donnell, Eric Christian Olsen. You're like, who? Oh, that guy. Oh, I know him. He was on Community. He was in Beer Fest. He played Larry's character in Beer Fest. He was in another teen movie as he was the rival quarterback. He was in this other show called Fired Up, I think. 2 male cheerleaders go to a female camp and have hijinks ensue. Anyway, he's decent. He plays the surfer dude. And then Daniela Rua. And that was really the team they stuck on. After about season 2, they did have another guy before Eric Christian showed up. Named Dom, and he disappeared halfway through, and then they found him dead at the end of this. So they had this great group for many years, and it's just over the last couple of years they've added new characters, and it's like, and it just doesn't make any sense. And here's the reason that I'm talking about this today, because I watched last week's episode. Chris wasn't in it. Ella wasn't in it. Eric wasn't in it. So these characters are all not there. We're left with, well, I'm going to say the B team, but we're left with lesser characters, and it was a poorly written episode. It was a poorly acted episode. It was just kind of, So I said to my wife, I said, you know this is McCancel, right? And she says, well, it's about time. Or something along those to that effect. It just was, it's run its course. Now, 14 years is a phenomenal time for a TV show. Other things have come and gone. NCIS sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. New Orleans, sorry. NCIS New Orleans, come and gone. There's a new show, NCIS Hawaii, that people are like, why don't you cancel Hawaii and keep LA around? Like, man, saw some characters. They had a crossover recently, and the actors were talking about how great it was to cross over with it. It wasn't a very good episode. But yeah, there's certain times on certain shows that you've got to call it. Even with something like MacGyver, which I said, I love MacGyver, they wrapped it up nicely. They said, you know what, here's a son from a previous relationship, and then he rode off in the sunset, and even then at the end, Richard Dean Anderson comes on, as from all of us at MacGyver, thank you very much for 7 great years, and off they go to the sunset. Or even Magnum, after all these things, at the end, he finds his daughter, and he re-enlists in the Navy. And done. I had one little thing they left over, but it's all good. It's all come full circle. Much like the current Magnum did not have any just like, canceled. Done. They're talking about bringing it back somewhere else, but who's to say? So I must say, in the end, it's been a fun run. Maybe there's something to be said because, Chris and I have the same sort of haircut. But it's been an interesting show. I've liked it. It's available. I have the first 2 seasons on DVD because I didn't have them. I didn't watch all of them, so I grabbed them. The rest of them now all online, so I don't bother, looking for DVDs. And I'm sure I could get them reasonably priced at this point because it's been out for 14 years. But that's all I want to say about that. It's a good show. At least it was up until the last year or so. They're kind of like hackneyed. Even in the beginning, when they first started, say in the first 5 years, it's always a Middle Eastern terrorist. Always, always, always. They just like, you got to beat that dead horse. There's other people out there. But it is the Navy and it is military, so I guess it makes sense. So that's just me talking about something I liked. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was pretty cool. It's wrapping up. I think it's about time. And that tells me that I'm getting down to, do I really need cable? Or am I down to 1 show now? I think I watch Castle. I think not even Castle. Sorry, Nathan Fillion. I watch The Rookie, which he's not a rookie anymore. I'm not sure why it's called The Rookie. Anyway, so that is today's video. Hope everyone's having a great day. And hey, tonight at 7:30, Holodeck 5, the stream this week is going to be talking about 3D printing. I know, Dave. Stick to you what you know, right? I'm going to talk about the differences between resin and, get this here, and filament, and why you want to do each one when you do them. So that'll be kind of fun. Also too, come along. A little gold, put on the blade, call it a day. So that is today's video. We'll talk to you all